continuing to watch the Trimet board, sock puppets. We left off, Kathy was trying to get them to incorporate a requirement that the next general manager be a transit rider. And she's getting pushback from the technocracy. That's Divine, the paid bureaucrat, and backed up by white woman Linda Simmons, white establishment woman Linda Simmons. So they're pushing her. They don't want that in there. They're saying, no, if you put that in there, then we'll narrow our field. Well, what's wrong with that? Maybe you should narrow your field to the people that use the goddamn system. So anyway, I cut off. I got tired, so I had to stop. But let's continue.
That as one of the qualities you're seeking, and like Director Simmons said, have that as an interview question and use that to gauge the candidate themselves. But to put it in as a prerequisite limits your candidate pool, and so it would be.
I don't see. So what? That's the whole point. You want to limit your candidate pool to the candidates you want, and here they are arguing against that. They're arguing, let's be clear what they're arguing against. They're arguing against having part of the requirements for this job being a transit rider. That's what they're arguing against. And that's a serious, this is your technocracy. Okay, because they know that technocrats like themselves don't ride public transit. So they're trying to protect their class. It's a class issue.
Better off. And you can still emphasize it, and it can still be of great significance and importance to use it as a way to determine where this candidate falls in their experience in the public or private transportation industry.
Okay, stop. The private, she said private. Now, why'd she say private when this is public transportation? See, the technocracy, this is Sewell. I think that's Sewell talking. The technocracy is our greatest enemy because they try to bend things to the way they want them, and that's really our problem. So here's Way trying to do something good, and the technocrats are pushing back hard against it. Private should have nothing to do with this. I mean, we don't want any privatized people here. Look, Kathy.
If I may weigh in here.
Okay. Yeah.
Please. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Director Way. I know that this is.
All right. We're seeing some actual board advocacy here. I can't tell you how good it is to watch this because we don't see any kind of discussions. It's always been whatever the technocrats say goes. Well, here we get a little pushback here.
Two-edged sword because you can, by putting in too many prerequisites, you eliminate your candidate. You really lower the candidate pool. I get that, but at the same time, I don't want to end up with a candidate pool of no one has ridden on public transportation.
Bingo. Right. He's agreeing with Kathy. That should be a prerequisite. And if that eliminates a certain segment of the career technocracy, so be it. And we went over this yesterday. There's lots of examples of career technocrats that actually are hands-on, like Andy Byford and the guy in Vancouver. How about fucking Jarrett Walker? He's right there in Portland. You have a world-renowned guy right in your backyard. Get him.
And that's a major concern. And so I think that language needs to be added in there.
All right.
In order to be real clear that we want someone that has a lived experience, not that they just rode when they were 10 years old or they haven't ridden public transportation in the last 15 or 20 years except on rare occasions. I think that's important. Because that lived experience is something that they'll bring to the table.
Absolutely.
In their employment. Trimet.
That's absolutely.
Keith, you know, I understand. I understand, and this is Linda, and I happen to agree with wanting somebody who has lived public transportation experience. I cannot, in my mind, even think of a candidate who would apply for this position who's actually worked in public transportation that's never been on the system. So I think it's a moot point. It's valid in terms of what we want, but I don't know that it belongs here. Why is she so anti this? Why is she against this to this point where she wants this language out of there? What is her problem? What is her problem? I don't want to dismiss your concern, but I think
you're giving somebody $400,000 a year. Okay, you want them to be a rider too. I think that's perfectly reasonable, and I don't know why Linda Simmons is pushing back against this at all.
You'll get what you want by looking for it later.
What? Oh my God. This woman's a goddamn nightmare.
I think it needs to come earlier in the process.
Yes. Look at Linda Simmons. She does look at that. Look, you see her. She threw her head back. You see that? She threw her head back in disgust because she's not getting her way. Good for you. Good for you. Don't give it to her.
You're going to say, okay, have you ridden on public transportation on a regular basis in the past 10 years? Well, no. And then you go to another.
We won't get to the end. You will find this out much earlier than getting to the final three candidates.
No.
Okay. All right.
Well, why are you conceding to her? Why are you conceding this? This is important. Look at this. I'm going to read this to you. A bachelor's degree, that's all you need to be a general manager, by the way, is a bachelor's degree in business, finance, public administration, transportation, or graduate degree preferred. 15 years of increasingly responsible managerial experience, including 5 years in executive capacity, that demonstrate the required knowledge, skills, and abilities. Recent experience in public or private transportation industry, coupled with highly developed and refined skills in working with local and state government. Additional management experience in public transit may substitute for up to 2 years of general management. There says nothing there about have you actually used public transportation, or are you a goddamn career technocrat who does everything from your desk? And here's Simmons defending the status quo, and these two people are trying to up the ante and get somebody a little bit more progressive, and she's fighting against it. And they're giving up. They're giving up just like they always do. Just like Kathy did the first time around. What was the first time? Something, I think it was about the policing. And she gave up too. In the first time she tried to take these people on.
I think we're all agreeing.
No, we're not.
The desires of having somebody who has transit experience and transit experience as a rider is extremely valuable. And I look at that whole last sentence of that first paragraph there. It's really just something that's saying these are highly valuable. They're not really saying these are all prerequisites. The prerequisites are above and below it. So
the
I don't want to wordsmith this
here,
again,
but
I think somewhere in here we ought to get something. I'd like to just say, why don't we direct Kim Sewell to work with the search committee to get some language somewhere in this job description.
Yeah, but we have Linda Simmons on this committee. She's the one on the committee. That's going to be a problem because she doesn't believe in this. Okay, and she's the one that's on the stupid committee. One of these, either Kathy or Keith, should be on this committee.
That reflects our some desires there, and that's all.
And I also will say, and to follow up on that point, Bruce, for what it's worth, this position description is going to come back to the board for approval later, right? This is our first cut at this document. We're going to go out to the community for comments. We're going to work with the
let's
search
see what they
firm
do
to refine
Let's
it.
see
So
I'm scared they're going to make Bauman the next chairman, by the way, and I don't like her either. I don't like either of those establishment women at all.
it will be, my understanding is it will come before the board again.
No question.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Director Gonzalez?
Thank you, President Warner. I just wanted to interject a few points that I think are worth making at this time around the difference between the prerequisites and the preferred qualifications. I do agree that the lived experience is incredibly important for this position, and it's something I will personally, as a board member, be looking for throughout the process. And I find a lot of opportunities to make that clear to the search firm and to the candidate pool as we start producing qualifications and requests for applications. Down the road, we're going to be having to produce a lot of communications materials that will be produced and published online through the search firm. They may go to LinkedIn or some other sort of search avenues, and there will be a lot of opportunities to make that abundantly clear. I feel comfortable in knowing that this is not only important to me, but to other members of the board. And in closing, I just want to point out that the language that you see in front of you today didn't include a prerequisite.
Simmons is pissed she's leaving.
Requisite for public transit use the last time, and we have a general manager today who does use public transit quite regularly. That is not uncommon for folks in the transit industry. I consider it a tremendous value for that.
You shouldn't have a general manager who's not using public transportation. That should be their only way to get around, really. That should be it. They should be required to be on their system every day to go everywhere. Not take your company car to your meetings. You take the system. Eric Halstead has made this point 1,000 times.
Lived experience to be there for upper management and for board positions. We don't see it inside of any sort of prerequisite today, yet we find it throughout management and board. I wanted to point it out because there's a difference between a value and a requirement, and I think lived experience and valuing public transit is essential and embedded into what we're trying to do.
So what I'm hearing you say is you're fine with moving forward as is?
No.
I believe the document can move forward as is, and it does not preclude.
Oh, Ozzy, you're a disappointment. God damn it.
Us from ensuring that we find candidates with lived experience in the regular use of public transit. I'm looking for transit-dependent riders. I'm looking for folks that have had to encounter mobility challenges in their life. These are all attributes that are very difficult to find in school, and I think they're essential to knowing how to serve the public.
Okay.
But I don't know where it's going to find itself in the process yet.
Yes, understand. Director Wade, where are you on this now?
So,
At the very least, Kathy, dissent, okay? Don't give them let's see what she does here. At the very least, don't go along with them like you did last time. Dissent. Just like they do in the Supreme Court. They dissent.
I have another question around the graduate degree as preferred. So, I think with all of the points that folks have said, I didn't understand just where we're at in the process of, if we are to approve this, it goes back to community as a draft, and then community can further give us suggestions and comments and wordsmith. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Got it. Okay. In that case, I would, again, I'd love to open it back to community in terms of what they think as this currently looks. My only other comment is, after a graduate degree is preferred, is there a sentence, or is there, a short phrase that we can say, a graduate degree or certificate is preferred? Again, just trying to expand the pool of applicants that we may that means that we may want to get, I know that, there might be some folks who have experience, but they just don't have a graduate degree, but they have certificates that would suffice.
Okay. She wants to really open this up to more than just what the usual, the usual standard technocracy says. We got to have this and that and that. This meritocracy idea. The meritocracy that's created this nightmare we're living in today is created from the meritocracy. And she's trying to think outside of that here, and they're pushing back hard against her.
So, again, what I'm thinking this says is a bachelor's degree is required, but a graduate degree is preferred, and you're saying other things in addition to a graduate degree could also add to that. Is that your point?
Hey, man.
Right, a graduate degree or executive certificate programs, right? There's
sit down and enjoy.
I think if we're aiming for graduate degree is preferred, I would like us to also consider or certificate. Because again, I think
me too.
Sometimes for folks going from a bachelor's
big shot here,
to a graduate degree is it could be a difficult step.
We see Director Gonzalez raising his hand.
Thank you,
yeah.
President Warner. I fully agree with Director Y. Actually, in this circumstance, we're doing the opposite of narrowing the pool. We're expanding the pool. Since we're talking about preferred, I believe saying a graduate degree or postgraduate education is preferred. That allows people a broader canvas of what they did to further themselves beyond the bachelor.
They're gonna weed out Trimet Deke here. You see, they're not even gonna give an interview because he's not gonna meet these qualifications. And see, so she's trying to open that up so that people like Trimet Deke can apply.
Degree. I see that as language that could help us open the pool up a little bit better, and frankly may help many candidates feel like they can actually have a shot at this. Whereas the graduate degree is preferred might not do that in the same way. I think that's a valid language to add.
So honestly, what you're saying is a graduate degree or evidence of post baccalaureate degree or postgraduate degree is preferred. See,
How about nothing is preferred, just some experience? Where are you going?
I like that better than certificate. Coming from a community college, we offer all kinds of certificates. And I think for a position at this level, we at least need a bachelor's degree. But it could be that they've had, as you've said, some postgraduate training that didn't result in a degree that would be of value.
Man, look at Ozzy.
Kim, are you okay with making changes like that?
No.
Yes, that something like that is easy, and again, I think it was anticipated in any event.
Look, man, I don't know why they're making such a big deal out of this. Just open it up for anybody can apply. Anybody can apply, okay? Just let anybody apply and then go through the resumes. Why do you have to have this or that or the other thing? Just open it right up and make as big a candidate pool as possible. They just got through arguing that they were limiting the field, and here they are limiting the field, you see?
Because as we've noted, this is expected to receive some comment from other folks and community partners and the public, and that there would be an anticipation that there might be some additions. So I don't think anything we've discussed isn't already in there or couldn't be accomplished.
So I'm comfortable with the language that you've suggested, Ozzy and Linda, on this one. Anything else you've got in there, Director Way? I want to make sure I've got all of the issues
They're not giving
I want to address here.
So do we need to make another motion to change the job description to reflect the language that Director Simmons and Director Ozzy just suggested?
Yes.
I think our general counsel will probably say yes, and I'd like to do that with some acknowledgement, whether it's a formal motion or just making that change. I just want to make sure there's not other changes you want to make, and we'll just do one amendment rather than another one later.
That's all I have, and I just also want to state that, again, I had offered pretty substantial feedback in terms of what I was looking for in the job description last week in the public work session, and those things did not get reflected in this document, nor did I get a follow-up.
Did you hear that? Okay, so, all right, that's a very, did you hear what she just said? She went and did this work previously and made these statements previously, and they ignored her, and that's why it's not in the document now. They ignored her work. And that's why she's bringing it up. She just said that, okay?
To take a look at this draft.
Why don't you just sit down and
So
relax
I just want to
up here,
make
man?
that clear that the communication has not been
Sit on the
very
chair.
transparent. This is the first time that I get to see this and talk about this publicly. So that's feedback for the search committee as well as to staff who are handling this process.
Okay. Thanks for that. So what I'm hearing in, I'm going to look at our general counsel. If we want to make minor language changes to this document, do we need to have a motion? Or can we just direct staff to make those changes? Since it's attached to the resolution we're actually taking action on.
Where's this? Come on.
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
As I understand it, this resolution is not written in stone. This is a living document, and we'll be able to make modifications to it going forward.
You're talking about position description, job description.
Yes.
Yes, that's indeed the case. The resolution would be something we would actually take action.
You would look at Simmons' face. Look at her. What a bitch. Why don't you just like I said, open it up for anybody? All right, don't just say 10 years transit experience and regular rider preferred.
On memorialize what we have in front of us.
Yes.
So I was asking Shelley if we need to actually amend the position description formally as a board, or if we can just direct staff to make those changes that were discussed today.
Where is she?
Is Shelley still here?
She said enough with the board today.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to make a decision then. What I'm hearing is I want to see the changes get made to the graduate degree, preferred to say graduate degree or other postgraduate training and certificates, whatever the language is, be put into the position description. And I'm just going to ask: is the board okay with that change?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then I'm ready to move forward on the actual resolution. Is based on this now. Is there? Nope. I see Director Gonzalez. Please.
Thank you. President Warner, I just want to respond to Director Y's comment. I'm a little concerned that Director Y has, it sounds like some outstanding feedback that did not get addressed in the document.
There you go. Yes, that's what he said. That's what she said. She was working with the community. She made some comments and decisions, and they ignored it. That's what they did. They ignored it. Didn't get put in here. Now, Ozzy's verifying that.
We did have a lot of feedback come from a lot of different sources, and our great liaison, Kim Swell, did a great job of shepherding all those comments and embedding them into the document. So I'm very curious, before we go forward, is there specifically something that Director Y has brought to the table that is not addressed here that she feels, that Director Y that feels needs to be addressed here and now?
Well,
if I may, excuse me, Director Y, if I may, there are some things that I think that I've raised that aren't all addressed here as well.
Oh!
But,
whoa!
like
Smack down! All right, I got a little bit of controversy with the board here, and of course, nobody in the media covered any of this. Of course, Expect the media to actually cover any of this.
That's reading. As long as I know this is a living document, I'm good with it because there's some changes I'd like to see down the road.
Well, this is a draft that actually allows us to move forward. So, and you will have an opportunity to give feedback many times and through the.
I want to know why Simmons is so against this. What's up with that? Why does she care at all?
Communities feedback on it. I mean, there's going to be a lot of opportunities, as well as the executive search firm will have feedback on it. So,
you know, what they're worried about is they're going to get a bunch of technocrats presented to them, and I think they're trying to break out of that, okay? Because if you look at the last, well, I think every single general manager in Trimet history has not been a transit rider. Not one of them. Ever. I mean, yeah, they ride it when they want to look good. But that doesn't count as being, you know, transit dependent, where you really understand transit, which is basically a nightmare for people that are transit dependent.
So I think it reflects a certain point at the very early stages, and to call this a preliminary job description in order so we can launch the public part and launch the work with the executive search firm. So
thank you, Linda.
Yeah, well, I don't.
I think to respond back to Director Gonzalez's point, yes. I mean, I think we spent, 2.5, 3 hours last week talking about this particular job description, and there were a couple of things that I had referenced, including the lived experience, my preference of someone who has a background in public health, or just, again, someone who sort of brings that expertise of someone who can manage COVID and the pandemic. And then I also brought up someone who, echoing Director Edwards' point at the last public board meeting, has strong labor relations.
Oh, yeah. So wait a minute. So look at this. So you have Lori Bauman and Linda Simmons on this board. Those are the two worst people to have on this search committee. They're two worst people.
So those were all the things that I had publicly said, and I apologize if I didn't, write that in an email and send it to whoever I needed to send. But so to respond back to Director Gonzalez, I had mentioned all of those four things in that public work session, and again, to not see sort of that lived experience piece for me, or not have that as being addressed. That was why I wanted to address that today publicly.
There you go. She just said it publicly. She was ignored when she was talking about this in one of the so-called sessions they had. They completely disregard. Now she knows how it feels to speak to the board as a member of the public. That's it right there. Complete ignored. They don't care what you think. They're going to do it their way. Kathy has just had that experience personally, and she's on the board, and they ignored her, and she just said it. Okay, she just said it out loud. I'm going to get a screenshot of that picture. Oh shit, I can't with if I make that.
Did that help you?
Understood. Thank you, Director White. That helps clarify quite a bit. Yes, I was concerned about the sense that you may not feel you were heard. We do have the recording of the public record. We were present at the meeting. I do recall all the comments, and we have the availability to go back and look for what was.
Ozzy, stop it! You heard what you just said. Stop backpedaling and trying to make up shit, okay? She just said that she put this input in previously and it was ignored. Now you're saying we'll go back and look? Come on, man. Stop it, Ozzy. Cut it out.
Communicated in that meeting. We in that meeting, one of the things that was communicated is among all that list of what we want to have in our general manager, part of what we are going to do as the search committee moving forward is have to figure out how to really make a clear communication to the public about what we want. And part of this is differentiating the prerequisites, what is the must-have requirement versus the preferred additional preferential qualities and skills.
And so what they could have done here, okay, is Kathy had made her comments known in work sessions apparently, and they didn't incorporate it anywhere in the body of this. Her comments are nowhere to be found in any of this document. Now, if they had put it somewhere in here, something about it, we wouldn't be having this fight. But they ignored her statement completely. Now, Ozzy here is backpedaling, trying to fix it. But those of us that understand what's going on here, it's too late. You can't fix it. It's too late. Okay, you ignored her. She said that publicly, and now you're fighting her. So we see what's happening here.
Have to start establishing a sense of priority for these individual qualities. Is a healthcare access more important than lived experience, for example? These are the discussions we're going to have at the committee level. And when we're ready to start producing communication materials to go out to the market, these are the opportunities where we will continue to have your feedback on how we're communicating these things. Because as was mentioned in the last work session, Director Simmons noted that in the market, simply the order in which we establish our requirements starts to send a message to the public about the level of priority. Those are the kinds of conversations we want to bring the search firm to, and make sure that whatever we're hearing from the board, from the community, is baked into this process in one place or another. And this preliminary draft job description document doesn't constitute the entirety of what we're going to share. In fact, this document is number one that a candidate would see. We're going to be producing more readable communication for candidates to be essentially attracted to our job.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Director Gonzalez, and I appreciate that. And I just want to be clear as well. You use the term priority, I use the term weighted, and it's the same concept. But that it determines what's important to the board and what's important to the community in regards to who we select as general manager. And the boilerplate is a given. That's got to be there. So to me, you take that off the table, because if they don't meet the boilerplate, they're not even going to be considered. But then we have to prioritize other particular issues that are important to the board, the community, and important to Trimet as well. So I just wanted to be clear about that also.
Well, and something else, Kathy, Director Way, I made a list during the meeting of everything we heard from everyone, and then cross-referenced it with the edits that were made. And I felt the spirit, even words that I said weren't in there the way I said it, but the essence of it was there. What? And I looked at your comments and I felt the essence of what you were asking for. If not, we didn't use those specific words, were reflected in terms of the essential functions of this particular position. So, I could say that, gee, my stuff wasn't reflected the way I said it, but yeah.
Boy, she is being a real bitch, isn't she? Oh, jeez.
As I look at the document, the essence of what I wanted to convey was there.
We don't want, there's no essence. There's the words. These words are it. Don't give me the essence. It needs to be in writing. Anybody that knows anything about contracts knows it has to be clearly delineated.
So that's what I would ask you to do too. Right. And if it's not, then bring it forward on a later edition of this before it actually becomes the approved version.
Well, she brought it. Well,
yes.
Oh, she just did. What's the problem? She just brought it up now. What's Simmons is really fucked.
And thank you, Linda, for saying that. I think for me,
don't be nice.
Words
Stop
matter
being nice.
more than essence.
Yes.
I think the words,
just as I said,
of what we're saying to the public.
She wants it clearly written. She wants it clearly noted. She doesn't want essence. She doesn't want this bullshit Linda Simmons crap.
As a board member, again, for me as someone who have not always been traditionally invited or included in decision making, words do matter.
Yeah.
And how we use those words in any type of public outreach or recruitment
Absolutely.
to find the next leader to head our agency absolutely matters. So,
Yep. Agree with
again,
her.
while
Linda,
the essence or the
Linda doesn't
flavor
like it.
or the whatever might be
You
there,
can see. Look at her, man. She's just a bitch, isn't she?
what I want to say is that I think words do matter, and specific words matter to specific communities.
Okay.
Thank you.
And what I want to do is get action on this draft, which I consider still a draft job description. So we get this posted out there and get something for people to look at and start giving us input. And it's a document we can take out and work on draft 2, 3, or whatever it is before we get ready to publish and do the formal recruitment process. So I think I looked at this and I thought most everything that we discussed was incorporated there and felt very good about what the staff had done. But it's definitely not perfect, and I think we've identified a couple areas there. So
Move the question,
like to move.
Chairman.
Excuse me.
Move the question.
Okay. So I'd like to call a question then. All those in favor of the motion to approve Resolution 21-01-49 as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Dissent.
Aye.
Oh, Kathy.
Any opposed?
Should have said no, Kathy.
Any abstentions?
She
Hearing
did it
none, the
again,
motion is
man.
approved
Jesus.
unanimously. Thank you very much, Mr. Edwards, for helping move us along.
Wow.
And again, this is a very valuable discussion. I found this very interesting.
Very disappointing is what it was.
You know, we're going to ask for everything, and hopefully that's what we're going to get when we get down to the bottom of it. So thank you. With that, then I'm going to move on to
All right,
Resolution 20.
I'm done for now. Let's sign off. I'm done.